Hello, my name is Bridget McNulty. I am the co-founder of Sweetlife Diabetes Community, which is South Africa's largest online diabetes community. And I have been living with diabetes for the last 15 years, so it's a very personal topic. I'm so excited to introduce Language Matters Diabetes South Africa to you today. So it's a global campaign that we've just brought to South Africa. And again, it's really personal for me because it relates a lot to when I was diagnosed. So I was diagnosed very dramatically. I ended up in hospital and I was told that I was now a patient for the rest of my life and I would be suffering from this disease. And nobody said, or if you look after yourself, you can live a perfectly happy, healthy life with diabetes. And so that's why we started Sweetlife 11 years ago. But Language Matters kind of takes it a step further because it's specifically about the language and the imagery used to describe diabetes.
Yeah, I know the importance of language. Firstly, thank you for being with us today. I'm actually quite intrigued by the Language Matters campaign because I did see, I read something and like there's sensitivity in how you use your jargon. So can you just tell us a bit more so that people can become wary of the correct language to use towards diabetes?
Yeah. So it's not even very, right? I think we all get a little bit panicky when we're told there's new language that we need to use because we're worried that we're going to get called out if we use the wrong thing. So it's not that we don't have that approach at all. All we want is to kind of encourage people to think a little deeper about it. So it's things like instead of calling people a patient, you say a person with diabetes or a person living with diabetes. We're not suffering from a disease, we're living with a condition.
Right.
And it seems like these are big changes. So we have a position statement that you can find on our website. It's sweetlife.org.za/language matters. And that kind of details all of it. But the intent behind it isn't to shout at people if they get it wrong. Okay. It's to start moving away from stigma. Because the trouble is that if you think that diabetes is a condition that turns you into like a sick person who has to be worried about every single thing they eat and is suffering, no one wants to get diagnosed with that condition. And so that leads people to resist diagnosis, which we know happens. 1 in 2 South Africans with diabetes are undiagnosed. Yeah. And that means that they only get treatment later on, which leads to complications. And so stigma seems like it's something not very practical, but it is actually very, very practical. And as I said, it's a global movement. So I actually want to read you something because I think it's so beautiful that it came from Diabetes Australia first.
Okay.
And it's almost like their like rallying cry in the beginning. Yeah. So they said, language matters. The words we choose and the way we use them influence, persuade, and affect how people view the world. Words do more than reflect reality. They create reality. Words are powerful. They can create a culture in which people feel valued, understood, and supported, or one in which people feel misunderstood, undermined, stigmatized, and excluded. Words can express conscious or unconscious bias. The words used to talk about diabetes affect the physical and emotional health of people living with diabetes. They also affect how people living in society view people living with diabetes, those at risk of developing diabetes. And that's kind of the core of it, right? Is that we want to have almost like a different image for diabetes. That's what we're aiming for.
It's actually really profound. It's a very profound statement. And it makes a lot of sense because I don't think it's easy to be diagnosed with something, and the acceptance process it takes its time. As you said that you've been living for 12, 13 years, there have been transitions, 15, wow. So there's been transitions that you've gone through to get to where you are. So I think that's where the language part also plays a role.
Yeah, absolutely. And the imagery, it's so funny because this is a movement that's happened through all different countries. So like South America, Europe, Australia, America. Yeah. I think we're the first African country, but the focus has very much been only on the language. And one of the things that bothers me most about the way the diabetes is portrayed in the media and in healthcare settings in South Africa is that it's always associated with pictures of sugar. So there'll be like a very thoughtful article about diabetes, and in the image will be like a plate of sugar with the word diabetes spelled out in Scrabble. Or like, I remember going to the pharmacy once and the leaflet, the diabetes information leaflet, the picture was a plate of sour worms being eaten like spaghetti. And that all the pictures are of people who are obviously unhealthy, or of like a plate of fast food. It's just that kind of stuff makes a big difference. Like that affects the way we feel about condition. And so one of the things we've done that I'm so excited about, it's definitely the first time in South Africa.
Yeah.
I want to say it's maybe the first time in the world, but I'm not 100% sure. Yeah. We have created a stock image library of people with diabetes, but like a really positive, beautiful stock image library. So we had a photo shoot. All our models were ordinary, authentic people living with diabetes. And then we've got pictures of like healthy eating, healthy cooking, hanging out with friends, working, staring out the window softly with a cup of coffee, like doing diabetes advocacy, but just normal people taking medication, testing blood glucose, but also just doing like normal things that people do, but they happen to have diabetes. And so now there are all these images. They're beautiful, freely available for anyone to use for anything they want to use them for. And that feels really exciting too, because that's really changing the way we see diabetes, because the actual images are changing.
No, that's really, really exciting. Can you just tell us what can we expect from Sweetlife from here, and how can people be in contact if they're interested?
Yeah. So we have been releasing kind of snippets of the position statement, because the position statement is quite a big read. So far, we've done the media launch, which has been great, and we've had a really wonderful response from the media. Now we're moving into the healthcare launch as well, because that's the other side of it, right? Is that you go to the doctor or the pharmacy or your nurse, and you want to make sure that you're being treated in a respectful way, and it's also about being welcomed, right? Being welcomed as someone who is part of your healthcare journey, not having that like top-down approach of be good, take your medicine, and you'll be fine. Like actually playing a part in your own health, which is so important. And the images are all available now. There are almost 200 of them, and they're very beautiful. So you can go and have a look at them. Everything is on our website, which is sweetlife.org.za, org.za. You can either just search for Language Matters on the website, or it's sweetlife.org.za/language matters, or just follow us on socials. We are South Africans with Diabetes on Facebook, and sweetlife.org.za on Instagram and Twitter.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bridget. We appreciate your time. We are a fan of your work. Keep up the great work, and thank you.
Thank you for having me. What a pleasure.